Another video. Now today we're going to do our weekly market breakdown for the stock market as well as precious metal and the US oil. Now if you're new to the channel, a sub would be appreciated as I provide valuable educational content on a daily basis. And if you enjoy the video, please smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And as always, let me know down in the comments below exactly what it is that you would like me to cover in my next video. Now we are going to take a look at the NASDAQ100, the SNP500, the US30, the GER30, as well as the US oil and the gold. Now if you've watched my breakdowns for the dollar index on Saturday or Sunday, you should have been able to capitalize and make loads of cash on that as well. If you have not, I suggest you go and check out that video in there also, and you could potentially find an opportunity as everything is going and as anticipated. So we are going to start with the NASDAQ 100 from a technical perspective. Now if we start on the monthly time frame, what do I have? Now it's very clear that the market is currently testing strong level of resistance, broke above that, it's testing it as support. The market also broke below this strong level of support over here, and we can expect a pullback as anticipated yesterday. So I've also made a breakdown of this on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram yesterday, and everything went again as anticipated. Now if I drop down on the weekly time frame, what do I have over here? Now from a weekly perspective, we can clearly see the market had started this correction. We also have this massive impulse, and after an impulse you expect a correction, and the best way to measure that correction is by taking your Fibonacci from the high to the low of the impulse, and you can see we've got a 0.382 pullback that's lining up perfectly with our previous level of resistance support that is now going to act as a resistance in the level in the market. So we can definitely expect a pullback before that continuation to the downside on the NASDAQ 100 there as well. Now if you drop down on the daily time frame, what do we see? Now here from a daily perspective, it's quite clear that we are trading above this structural level over here. Now this level over here acted as a strong level of resistance. The market then broke above that with that candle that we had over there. Sorry about that. So we had this level over here, this level over here acted as a level of resistance. Market broke below that, came to test it as support. Yesterday I did a breakdown explaining all of the reasons why we can see the market take off from exactly where it is to that level over there. Now this level over here, as we know, the market was stuck within this consolidation phase last week. Market finally broke below that, and this level of support got broken. All of that resistance is now turned, all of that support is now turned resistance. I definitely can expect the market to continue higher before we see that continuation to the downside once again there as well. Now the market is going to continue higher, and then we can expect the market to start that decelerating process to the downside as we are looking closer to the next Federal Reserve interest rate hike, which we're anticipating to be a 0.75% in there as well. So next up we are going to take a look at the US30. Now starting on the monthly time frame, what do we have over here? Now from a monthly perspective, we can clearly see how we had tested this previous level that I've been speaking about many times in the past already. Now this level over here acted as a strong level of resistance. The market broke above that, came to test it as support. Now we know that the market had also broken below the strong level of support here, and then came back to test it as resistance there as well. So this level over here acted as a strong level of support. We had a clear break below that, market came to test it as the resistance, started the continuation to the downside as I've explained before. A pullback is expected before the continuation starts dropping. Once again, it's a similar situation that we have, because there is a negative correlation between the stock market and the dollar index as well. So if you drop down on the weekly time frame, what do we see? Now we can see here the market is slowly but surely lurking closer to this structural level that it had printed. Now this level over here acted as resistance, then support again. The market broke below that. All of that support is now turned resistance, giving us a further confirmation that we can expect the market to pull back before that continuation to the downside there once again. Now if you drop down on the daily time frame, what do we have here? Now from a daily perspective, it's very clear that we have had this massive impulse. We can expect a correction once again before that continuation to the downside. Now if you want to measure this correction, that's quite simple. You just take your Fibonacci there from the high to the low of this massive impulse, and we can see over here that we do have a 61.8 Fibonacci that's lining up perfectly with that structure over here that we can expect the market to pull back to before that continuation to the downside. Now we can definitely expect this momentum to continue into this week, and then potentially going into next week we can expect the market to start continuing lower. So about that, let us just fix that very quickly. Yeah, there we go. So that is the situation on US30, my friends. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to look at the SNP500, and the S&P500 has got a similar price action to the ones we got on the NASDAQ100. So what we got over here is we got the same level of resistance that got broken. It's acting as support. We can expect a pullback from that support that got broken, that is now acting as a level of resistance. Next up on the weekly time frame, similar price action, support over here, massive impulse, you can expect a correction, and that's probably the 0.382 correction that we have over there. Yep, so we can expect this market to pull back to the 0.382, which is the previous level of support that is also now acting as a level of resistance. On the daily time frame, you can see over here, this market also been stuck in that consolidation last week. Finally had that breakout. The market then broke below that level of support. It's now acting as a level of resistance. Definitely pullback expected before that continuation to the downside there once again as well. So that is how we're going to approach the stock market in regards to how things are going to be moving there forward as well. I'm not sure how these charts are dancing. Next up we have the Euro index, which is the GER30. So the price action here is quite messy. I'll tell you why I say so. Firstly, this is the monthly time frame. We had a market stuck in the consolidation, broke out, came to test that support as resistance. The market then printed new resistance, new support. This resistance got broken, tested it as support here once again. The market's stuck within this range over here. Okay, now this level over here acted as support, it got broken, it became resistance. This level here acted as resistance, got broken, became support. The market found support at this level, and it's now stuck in between that support and resistance that we have over there as well. Here on the weekly time frame, we spoke about this market when the market was sitting around this level, and we wanted to see the market go and create an equaler to complete the same formation. However, we never got that pullback. The market just hit that level and started continuing higher there once again. If you drop down on the daily time frame, what do we have here now? From a daily perspective, once again the price action is quite choppy. Now if you do look if you do just look at this market, you can see that it is trending lower. However, it's very important to keep in mind that this is a structural level that the market had created currently. So we are currently trading at this level of resistance. So there's a good possibility that we could potentially see this market continue higher, pull back, then continue slightly higher, because like I said, we are stuck within a consolidation phase on this market here as well. Next up, we are going to take a look at the US oil. Next up, we're going to take a look at the US oil. Now, I've been speaking about oil many times in the past. You can just go back to all the videos that I made where I said that we can expect the market to go and fill in that wick. Here we can see how the market is slowly but surely starting to fill in that wick. On the weekly time frame, we can see the market had just completed this W formation. After W formation, you expect to pull back to the neckline before that continuation to the downside. So we can have to expect the US oil to pull back before seeing any continuation. Sorry about that, my friends. Next up, what do we have here? We have this massive impulse. We also have this strong level of resistance that the market had printed. The market then broke above that level of resistance. All of that resistance is now acting as a level of support. Now after this impulse, you obviously expect this massive correction. Now if you take your Fibonacci from the low to the high, you can see that the 0.382 is lining up more with this structure, which is the neckline of the W formation as we have identified from a weekly perspective. Now this is the way that we are going to approach the situation. We are going to wait for the market to pull back to this level, and then once we get there, we're going to start looking for buying opportunities for the market to go and create an equal high that it created when the Russia and Ukraine situation started kicking off. Next up, we've got gold. Now gold's got a negative correlation with the dollar index, so we can expect gold to continue to the downward momentum. Yeah, now on the monthly time frame, we know gold took off quite bearish, bullish, got pulled back quite aggressively. Market also printed this strong level of resistance, broke above that, and is now testing it as support. But you can see how the market went right through that level of support there as well. Now, because the market had printed an equal low, there's definitely a pullback expected in the market before that continuation to the downside. If you take your Fibonacci from the high to the low, we've got a 0.382 pullback that's lining up perfectly with this previous level of resistance that acted as support. That's once again the resistance in the market here as well. Can we expect a pullback to that level? Probably not. We could probably expect a pullback to this level over here before that continuation to the downside. If you up on the daily time frame, what do we see? Now here on the daily time frame, the price action is quite clear. We can see over here the market had printed this strong level of support. Support then got broken and it's now testing as resistance, and it's now acting as a level of resistance. Once again, can wait to expect the market to pull back in there slightly. Also, we had this massive impulse to the downside. After an impulse, you do expect a correction. And if you take your Fibonacci from the low to the high, you can see we'll have a 61.8 confluence. It's lining up perfectly with the previous level of support that is now acting as resistance. Now that's all from my side. Thank you for your time, and as always, cheers for years.